Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's installment of DappRadar Market Movers. My name is Pedro, and I'm joined today by Boris Ribo, part of our research team. How are you doing today, Boris?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you very much.
How are you surviving the bear market?
Uh, well, thankfully, I liquidated most of my positions in the winter of last year, but not everything. And yeah, it's rough. I think it hit everybody equally in that regard.
It's rough indeed. And actually, the topic for today take us to one of the most interesting aspects of Web3, which is domain names, which will be part of our digital identity inside the metaverse and in the Web3 landscape. So it's an important topic. What are domains like ENS and why have they been generating so much buzz recently? Just remember that, as always, we'll be recording the session so you can listen to this or any of our previous shows on DappRadar's YouTube channel. And before we jump straight into the ENS and domains discussion, I think it's worth taking 5 minutes to review what have been crazy 48 hours in cryptoland. And as you have seen, like most cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, and several altcoins, have crashed into levels not seen since 2021. And if it's the first time in the industry, in the space for you, yeah, this is rough. But personally, I started trading cryptos in 2017, so I already went through two crashes, the 2018 and then the COVID crash last year. So don't worry. I know it's rough. It's a hard sentiment, but we will make it. This is the time where successful teams keep building, and we will hope to deliver good news soon. Um, so the Terra UST, actually, we discussed last week about the Terra initiative to back up all the UST stablecoin with Bitcoin, acting as collateral to provide some value in support of this stablecoin. Um, we highlight that there was a certain risk of this movement, and unfortunately, yeah, it was very noticeable this week. Yesterday, UST was traded even for 35 cents in some exchanges. And of course, one of the rising ecosystems that is Terra came crashing down to the ground like the fall of Rome. Yeah, I mean, this is dragging the crypto market that was already going through a challenging period because of the macroeconomic situation. And then on the NFT space, we also see some drama coming from the Azuki collection that also, yeah, shakes some head and also affected the price of Beans, Azuki, and all of that project's derivatives. But again, it's part of a cycle, is something that we will learn from, and yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, as the
So
meme goes, the risk I took was calculated, but damn, I'm bad at math.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and it's normal to, as I said, like if it's your first time, it's normal to feel overwhelmed. But yeah, we've been here for many many other times, and we will come back. Don't even doubt about it. Um, so ENS and domains. Why don't you start explaining us, Boris? What can we understand for domains, and what is ENS that it's making a lot of stir in the NFT space?
Well, to put it in layman's terms, ENS or Ethereum Name Service, they're essentially consider them like license plates that you'd have for your car, but instead of having license plates, you have human readable names for Ethereum based hashes. So instead of having a long hash for your wallet, you can mint an address and assign it to your wallet, and instead of it being 0x and a bunch of random numbers and letters, you can have it like mike.eth or I don't know, John and whatnot. And then, of course, under that domain, you can purchase and mint yourself subdomains, which are also a part of it. And The service got first introduced in May of 2017, and it's been worked on since then by the ENS Foundation. They have been working on it tirelessly. They developed a very beautiful app around the whole process, and it essentially works in the same way as if you have ever had any experience of making a website. You know that you have to buy the name, like from GoDaddy or what have you. It's pretty much the same service. So if you'd like to mint a domain name, you check if it's available, you mint it, you pay a certain fee, and voila, that's the way it works. And if you also had any experience in making websites, you would understand that if you're going for something that's in high demand, then the domain names can be, in certain cases, very, very expensive. For example, Budweiser last year decided to purchase the domain name beer.eth, and it bought it for 30 ETH, which at the time was around 100,000 US dollars.
Mm.
And they decided to register it and then mint following subdomains for the different brands of beers. So you can understand how particular names and letters, because they function essentially like NFTs, that they are unique, they're immutable, and they're very scarce. And thanks to the scarce, sooner or later will always be in demand, and they always go to the highest bidder.
Well, actually, each ENS is an NFT, right?
Yeah.
So one wallet acquires a domain name, in this case an ENS, and each time that you want to transfer value, as you said, instead of saying I want to transfer value to 0x21AA and the hash, you basically say I want to send one ETH to Boris.eth, and that's it. So you, as a user, as a wallet, go and purchase an ENS domain for a certain period of time, and you will be able to use it as your earliest convenience. But ENS is not only, it's not the only Web3 domain that is in the market. I know that we are going to focus in ENS because there are interesting stuff happening around the market of these particular domains. But for example, we have unstoppable domains that are also NFTs that a user can purchase and also use as a domain. So instead of ending with .eth, these unstoppable domains can end with .nft, .bitcoin, .crypto, and like 7 or 8 different endings. Like instead of in the web 2 would be .com, you have like .crypto, .nft, and so on. And also we have the other type of domains like Web3, the Web3 Foundation domains that are also working in similar manner. And there are a few differences between unstoppable domains, which is the second most popular, and ENS. The first difference is that ENS were created by a DAO, so they are still decentralized, whereas unstoppable domains are not. They're controlled by a central entity. On the other hand, unstoppable domains can be purchased via credit card, which of course reduces the friction between crypto users and the domain. It's easier for a normal people to go and buy a Web3 domain in that regard instead of paying with ETH, right? So that is an advantage, and the other advantage is that unstoppable domains are only bought once in a lifetime, so they are bought in perpetuity. Whereas the ENS, you need to renew the license, to renew the right to use that domain each. Well, depending on the period that you purchase, but you can purchase for 1 year, 2 years, or 10 years. So yeah, that's basically the difference between ENS and unstoppable domains and other ones. But still, like the decentralization factor that ENS entails, it's superlative. And also, I'm pretty sure that you heard about, in January, ENS airdropped the ENS token, which is basically the governance token of this DAO. Which, if you were holding an ENS previously to that date, you would be very, very happy. So yeah, that's in a nutshell what are domains. And and what are the different type of domains that we have in the industry. But there is something going on around ENS domains recently. Something called the 10K Club. What's this? What's the news about this? What's the innovation about it?
Well, essentially, what happened is that, again, in a completely decentralized manner, people who've been talking to each other, and they realized that, hey, numbers have certain meanings. And as mentioned previously, like for example, in Dubai or in America or other different places, some people have a particular affinity to a certain set of numbers, whether it be, someone's particular lucky number or a number has a particular cultural significance. For example, 7 is considered lucky number in the Far Eastern culture. The 8s are considered to be a lucky number, and so on. And people decided to start buying up or minting the numeric 3 and 4 digit domains, which, if you count them, they essentially turn into an unofficial NFT, well, 10,000 K NFT collection.
From
And
0,000 to 9999, right?
yeah,
That is why 10,000 of these type of NFTs that we're calling the 10K Club.
and essentially what happened is that the traders pushed the daily trading volume from sub 100K in USD to 500K on the 26th of April, and since then it went above 1 million and it's been going up since then. However, the recent numbers have dropped down back to previous levels, and according to last data, yesterday the average volume was 213,000, which is still way above average, but not as much as it was during the peak of trading.
If you go back and review the trading volumes of ENS like 6 months ago, even 6 months ago, they were basically unobservable in the broader scope of the NFT trading volumes. So right now, if you go up and see the most traded collections, you will normally find ENS in the top 10 or top 15 at least. So yeah.
So what is the 10K Club? Essentially, a bunch of users got together, and to the best of our ability, we could narrow it down to a Twitter user with a handle at Daniel Got This, and he created the Twitter account, the 10K Club, and a Discord server for like-minded people and users who purchased said NFTs to congregate together, to interact, and to form a community. Essentially, there's been a sub community within the 10K Club, which is the 999 community, and those are all the people who purchased the more exclusive NFTs numbered from 0 to 999, and those go for significantly more than the 10K Club. However, they're still part of the greater 10K Club community, and so far they have presented themselves as completely decentralized, like a DAO, but not actually a DAO, unruggable, where I am my numbers and my numbers are me.
Unruggable. I like that word. Yeah, but this, let's say, this 10K Club, it's totally independent from ENS DAO, right? Totally independent.
Not to be a very important point, not to be confused. They're not in any way affiliated with the official, but the previous ENS foundation that developed the service. This is a completely separate community of its own.
So this NFT influencer, Daniel got this, go out and start creating this trend, basically. And that is when people realize the power or the potential of these 3 digits and 4 digits ENS. Because if you think about it, I don't know if you're familiar with Middle East culture. For example, if you go to Dubai to Dubai, Qatar, and Kuwait, these regions, it doesn't matter if you own a Rolls Royce. It doesn't matter if you're riding a Lamborghini. If you do not have a 3-digit plate that are bought for a good amount of money, and I'm talking about millions of dollars, basically it's like you're riding a 60s Nissan, right? It doesn't matter if you're riding a car with a triple digit plate, you're on a different status levels. And this is the type of psychology that we are seeing in NFTs all around. How Bored Ape Yacht Club, CryptoPunks created some type of exclusive clubs that give people some other additional status, a higher status, just for being part of this club. And I think this Daniel got this pointed out this very good in a couple of tweets. And this was the moment when people realized, yes, I need to own a 4-digit domain, because in the metaverse, I'm going to be known as 0822 instead of a regular name or so on. So you're seeing how this human psychology factor is also shaping out the NFT market. And it's very clear here in the 10K club.
Absolutely. And the biggest whale, for example, who is also part of the community, the one who bought 555 for 55.5 ETH. And his own words, he bought it though because those were his lucky numbers. And essentially, he wasn't even aware of the particular utility of ENS. It's just that those particular numbers spoke out to him. And overall, numbers have they're universal. They go across
Yeah.
all cultures, and numbers are universally interpretable, whether it be 420, 666, 1337, or whatnot. So numbers do have meanings. They have very powerful meanings, and this is why I guess people are buying them up. In terms of price performance, they actually are, if you consider them a collection, they actually have very strong performance. Minting of a domain usually goes for 0.05 ETH, and the current floor price is around 0.875 ETH, which is an increase of 1,650%. However, the average price goes so far as between 1.5 to 1.3 ETH, depending on what kind of ETH for 4-digit ETH. And when you're going to 3-digit, they go as far between 3 and 5.
Well, yeah, they're very pricey already. And with 3 digits, I think it's really interesting because you have a lot of numeric numbers, combination of numbers that means something. Like you have 420, you have a lot of zip codes in the US, like Miami zip code 305, or the 619 in San Diego. Or I mean, you can get very creative. That's the reason why they are so pricey. Imagine how much is the 420 ETH domain. So and if we go to the 4 digits, something very interesting is happening, because the owners of Bored Apes, the owner of CryptoPunks, that are collections that basically are 0 to 10,000. If you own Bored Ape 3288, you want to own domain 3288 because you will be known as the Bored Ape, not as Pedro, not as Boris, but you will be known as 3288. My number is me, and I am my number. It's. I mean, for me, it's really interesting to see how the human psychology is really important in when analyzing and dissecting the NFT market.
Likewise.
Um,
As far as the future of this particular, I could say, project, if it could be called that, the so far members are just congregating and purchasing various the ones that have not been purchased, or minting the ones that have not been minted, and are creating a community around it. So far, they have been, as I say, they're completely decentralized. There have been no concrete directions where they want to go, but some have made proposals of creating a treasury, maybe partnering with the official ENS Foundation, and creating some possible merch. So far, they've been vocal about helping other users who are not knowledgeable about ENS, educating them what ENSs are, how to use them, how to monetize them, perhaps renting them out. And creating a larger community around it. In terms of what can happen with this project or similar projects, it's possible that dates would become the next big thing. So, for example, if somebody would start buying their own birthdays, so 16th June or 1st of July, and many other important dates in the world. Perhaps those will get minted next. And maybe eventually we're going to move to more numbers, more digits, or maybe particular specific word combinations. Maybe palindromes would become the next big thing. Who knows? However, the community is also very vocal about avoiding scams, because what's happening is that because the prices for digit domain names are going up, a lot of people are substituting alphanumeric numbers with letters. So
Mm.
they'll use an L for a one or an S for a five, and depending on what kind of font you use, it's very hard to differentiate those, and sometimes people can get duped thinking they bought the original 3 or 4 digit domain, but it actually feels like a small thing, but it's not a 4 digit domain. It's a letter and a digit domain.
I mean, when there is opportunity, when there is value, we know and we have learned over the past months and years that scammers are always going to take opportunity. So, yeah, if you're trying to acquire one of these domains, be sure that you're purchasing a domain that has a zero and not an O, because if not, you will be very mad when you find that you are 0888 instead of 0888. So be careful. And yeah, I don't know the future of this movement. I see it very similar to what happened with loot. Do you remember this loot
Yeah,
collection?
and
Yeah,
Blues.
that
Yeah.
was exactly. So loot was yeah, the founders were trying to mimic Dungeons and Dragons, a board game. They launch a collection basically with just 7 words, NFTs containing 7 words, to play a role game. And basically, they didn't develop any landing page. They didn't show any roadmap, reveal any announcements, or even have a Twitter account. And it's basically handling the keys of the car to the community. I don't know if something similar is going to happen with the 10K club, or I don't know if Daniel this or the NFT influencer, um, Daniel got this, is going to take a leave and shape that community. Do you have any additional insights on that?
No, unfortunately, as I said, the community is decentralized in the sense that there are no concrete leaders. He just created the Discord, but he's not a, at least from the research that I found, he's not a particular pillar of the community. There people are doing pretty much things that they all want to do, and people are beholden only to themselves. Um, well, we have to wait and see what happens with it. The beauty of this community, or just crypto communities as a whole, is that you never know what's going to happen. Personally, I hope, and this is my subjective view, that they do actually end up collaborating with the original ENS Foundation and maybe creating something out of it. Because the idea of that, because I really like the idea of the license plate, because once the internet, it's eventually going to move to Web.3. And this is essentially like buying real estate in the new world. Back when people first moved to America, America was just this wild wilderness and you had no idea what it was. But then eventually people started staking land and buying it. And then, well, we see America what it is today. This is pretty much the way I view it, is very much the same thing.
Oh, and as we are nearing the part where the metaverse is going to become the dominant way of socializing and basically entertaining ourselves, these domains will be needed. Like, you want part of your digital identity. It's basically your name in the Web3 space. So for me, it's also interesting to see how people prefer to be called 0823 instead of being called John. But I don't know, like, we're seeing so many peculiarities in the industry that, yeah, I think never it doesn't surprise me anymore. So cool. Anything else that you want to share regarding the 10K collection, or shall we move forward and ask for some answers from the audience?
I'll say this is pretty much the long and the short of it.
Cool. So while we wait, if there are any questions about ENS or any other topic that the audience might have, why don't we discuss high level what's happening in the industry? Why are we seeing everything go red? What is happening? Like, how did we arrive to this? What's your opinion on the UST, Boris?
Uh, my subjective opinion, and I think this is a financial hitman's job, because although this is not provable, I like I understand that the traditional financial industry is very averse to crypto and very averse to decentralized finances gaining a significant foothold, because money is how, well, controls what people do, how they behave, what choices that they make, and people who control the money supply basically can control people's lives. And this is why it's always very important for any government to control what happens with the money. And again, crypto is a demand for democratization of that control and basically giving people autonomy, which is, of course, then when people are autonomous, they can reach their own conclusions that are not congruent to perhaps aligning with the goals of higher authorities, let's put it that way. And I think this was by powers that are not known to us. Maybe in years to come, things will come to light. But I think there's been some backdoor deals that have exacerbated the situation that we're essentially come crashing down.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a combination of factors, and you're right. Like from the traditional finance, we are always going to find some resistance. Why? Because they are reluctant to lose their grip on the stronghold of basically the global capital markets, right? And that is what is happening with DeFi and the protocol. Basically, they are democratizing the access of finance to people. But that is quite a kind of a, let's say, conspiracy theory at this point. Hopefully, it will be proven otherwise. What it's well, not interesting, but what happened to me is first the enormous pressure that we were lagging from since February that the war in Ukraine started, and how this affected the commodities, how it affected the capital markets, and then we see inflation levels again rising, which of course that doesn't bode well for the financial indexes. And of course, we're still seeing a high correlation between Bitcoin, of course, the entire crypto market, and the traditional finance industry, which is not great. To be honest, like I would expect at this point to have reduced a bit the correlation, but it hasn't happened yet. So that's one. The sell pressure that was already really huge, a huge burden from the macro perspective, and the last nail on the coffin, yeah, was the Terra situation. I mean, when one of the most important stable coins, the third largest stable coin, loses its main purpose, we are doomed, basically. And we saw how a top 10 cryptocurrency, actually Luna was a top 6 cryptocurrency by market cap. I've never seen something like this. How it collapsed. It's just overwhelming. I personally have some positions in Terra, farming some UST in Anchor and so on. So yeah, it's awful to see how your positions are basically going to zero in a matter of one day. And I don't know at what extent the collateralization of Terra and UST, well, of UST with Bitcoin, has to do with this. But I'm pretty sure it played an important role. It played an important role. Basically, it's again trusting all the value of your assets in one very volatile asset that is Bitcoin. although were already implementing programs along with other blockchains and big Web3 companies like Avalanche Labs. They were trying to mitigate and dissipate the risk, but still it was a high risk. And actually, it's funny because we commented this actually 1 week ago. So yeah, I mean, not ideal. I don't know. Like, to be honest, I don't see an immediate recovery. I think we are, yeah, we should prepare for at least a couple of months of parallel, yeah, that sideways trajectory. So let's see. But still, again, just a reminder that these times are good for projects to keep developing, and when the time comes, when the sun comes out again, yeah, we will have your new products ready to be used by millions of blockchain users. Um, so yeah, right. So let's see, any question from the audience regarding ENS, what's happening in the industry, or anything that you want to comment, please go ahead. Okay, I think this time we won't have any question from the audience, Boris. So any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts, I'd say it's always darkest before dawn. If you remember back in the day when, and I was working at my other job in private banking, I remember when first time Bitcoin hit 20,000 and people were going crazy and saying, wow, uh, this is the peak. And people were, I read stories taking out mortgages, selling out their house, taking out the money for their kids. Universities and essentially all putting it in Bitcoin, thinking they're going to triple, quadruple, or how many X times their own income, and then Bitcoin just literally in a matter of half a year just dropped from 20,000 to 3K, and people lost their entire fortunes. However, only those that lost, because then a couple of years later it went to 60K. So um, time
Only
will
those
tell.
only those
Yeah.
who sold. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly, only those who sold. So in the long term, we will see where it goes. There is no limits to human creativity and the possibilities thereof. So future is bright, and hopefully everything is going to work out in the end. This is just a blip in the grand scheme of things, and we'll see the markets go up and everything else. But what's important for us, at least in the short term, is that we keep on surviving and we keep on our daily tasks.
Yeah, keep grinding. And yeah, there my closing thought is, now that we're talking about DNS, there are three certain things in life: death, taxes, and you will need a Web3 domain to be part of the metaverse and the future of the industry. So act diligently. Perfect. So I want to give a big thanks, as always, to all of you for being active in our community. Thank you, Boris, as always, for your valuable insights. And remember, each week at the same time, Market Movers discussing different crypto topics, and the DappRadar Mid Session, where Ian talks down with relevant projects in the industry in his AMA weekly events. And a special reminder that next week we won't have this Market Movers event. We will host our second community call, where our co-founders Kermantas Dragos and head of product Nick Rennie will talk about exciting upcoming changes to the DappRadar's product. So you don't want to miss that out. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter and social media channels, Twitter, Discord, and YouTube. And yeah, thanks again. That's all for today. Have a good weekend and an amazing evening. Thank you,
Wonderful.
everyone.
I wish everyone all the best. Goodbye.
Bye.